This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hello and welcome to Horsing Around. I'm Dr. Chris Blevins at Kansas State University Veterinary Health Center. Today, joined by Dr. Katie Delph.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Dr. Katie Delph is an assistant clinical professor here at the vet school and is boarded and is a specialist in equine internal medicine. So Dr. Delph works on a lot of the more complicated, potentially complicated issues that may be referred in or primarily seen here at the vet school, even by the owner directly.
That's correct.
One of the things that maybe Dr. Delph may see is a horse that is neurologic. And when you say a horse is neurologic, what could that mean? Because some owners would be like, well, I've never seen a neurologic horse, or why would I be concerned with neurologic? So what's a neurologic horse?
Yeah, so it can range from a variety of clinical signs that we see. So something as maybe innocuous sounding as your horse that's stumbling a little bit more when you're riding it, to a horse that is down and can't get up. And so again, it's kind of within that array, and we hope that we find those horses before they get down and can't get up, because that's definitely a more serious problem at that point. So some clinical signs may be that the horse is what we call ataxic or uncoordinated, so stumbling over their own limbs, maybe to the point where you notice when they're at a standstill that their legs are all pointing in different directions, or they're dragging their feet, or sometimes they can be really, really weak as well and have difficulty kind of holding themselves up.
And I think some of those things are even of a concern while an owner is riding too, that maybe they're fairly subtle, but they could be ataxic, and to have a veterinarian involved to really check those things out.
Definitely, yep, because it can be dangerous to the person as well that's riding that horse if you don't quite know how severe their disease is.
Right. Well, when you talk about neurologic horses, what could be some causes of a horse being neurologic? What could cause those things?
So one thing we think about, especially in young horses, is what we call cervical stenotic myelopathy, or the lay term for that would be wobblers.
Okay.
And there's some sort of compression of the spinal cord that's typically associated with development of that vertebral canal. Obviously, sometimes we know when something happened and some sort of traumatic injury, or sometimes, we may find the horse with a swollen neck that then we can pinpoint to that localization and find some sort of trauma or fracture in that area. Others could be some infectious diseases that we do vaccinate for, part of our core vaccine series, including West Nile virus or Eastern equine encephalitis as well. So a variety of potential causes.
And another one that sometimes owners kind of forget about is rabies. Horses can get rabies too.
They can, yep, yes.
And those signs, I think could be really all over the board as far as neurologic symptoms, I think, and having a veterinarian involved sooner than later can sure be helpful.
Definitely.
So what kind of, just real quick tests that could be done? You talked about, the cervical stenotic myelopathy. What other type of tests could we do?
So we can do x-rays of the neck, and we can even do those out on the farm. Sometimes it's easier to interpret those if there's kind of a thicker necked horse, but definitely x-rays. We can also try to collect fluid from around the spinal cord, a cerebral spinal fluid tap, either under anesthesia or in the standing horse, and then do different tests on that fluid to try to rule out or rule in some of our differential diagnoses.
Yeah, I think that, again, having your veterinarian involved, maybe even Dr. Delph, if need to, here at Kansas State to help with some of those things is important. Get your veterinarian involved.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Dr. Delph.
Thank you.
Well, that is it for Horsing Around, and we'll see you around.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways, of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on AGam in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.